some more fun stories about some cars that I've owned on Talking Vehicles with Joe. Now, the last few videos I've done, I've talked about cars that I've owned, gave you, kind of ran down the list, and told you some interesting things about them. But I don't know if I completely covered or mentioned all the vehicles that were in the list or got them in the right order. And so what I did was I printed out a list. I actually keep a list. That's kind of crazy, huh? Here is the actual list of cars. Matter of fact, I'll hold it like this so you can see it a little better. This is the actual list of cars that I have owned in chronological order. So I'm going to kind of run through this real quick, tell you some more interesting or funny stories about them. And I think that'll give us a pretty long video. So that'll be this video. I'll do the same thing for company cars in the next video. The first car was a 1975 Olds Cutlass Supreme. Had that car for a very short time. My first brand new car was a 1978 Mercury Zephyr Z7. Told you a funny story about that car in a previous video. My 1967 Dodge Charger that I bought while I owned my Mercury Zephyr Z7. That car I bought off my sister's boyfriend, and the problem was it was an 11, 12-year-old car in Western Pennsylvania, and it was just really rusty. As a matter of fact, one of the things that happened to that car was the crossmember that held the transmission in place actually rusted and broke free from the frame of the car. So the transmission could bounce up and down, and it broke motor mounts because of that. So, and I was driving the car one day, and I heard this really concerning thumping in the front of the vehicle, knew something was wrong, and it was because the motor was rocking in its cradle. Took it to a shop. They put new motor mounts in and told me these are going to break again right away because of what was going on with the transmission. They welded some angle iron as best they could to the frame, or the car was actually unibody. So the frame was really just kind of some rails that were underneath the car. They welded some angle iron to that and tried to reattach the transmission cross member, and were successful, but said it's not going to last very long, and it didn't. And I wound up selling that car back to my sister's boyfriend. My 1974 Mercury Capri. One of the funny things about that car was I bought that car used. I bought it in 1978, and it was a great car. I really liked it. But that car had air conditioning, and I never knew it because it had the international type setup where you didn't just slide a bar over to turn the air over to cool to turn the air conditioning on. There was a separate button you had to push. And I never realized what that button was for. And the way I found out that car had air conditioning was I sold it to my dad. And my dad was driving it and was running the air conditioning. And I thought, and I was with him one day, and I thought, how in the world, this car is air conditioning? And my dad said, yeah, you got to push that button. And I had that car through a whole summer, a hot summer, and never ran the air conditioning because I didn't realize it had air conditioning. My 1979 Dodge Diplomat Medallion, I talked to you a little bit about that car. It was a nice car. I really liked it. My 1980 Mercury Capri RS. I think I may have skipped over that car. I didn't mention that in my videos. I bought that car basically to drive back and forth to work. Now, it was a Capri RS, and it had all the RS stuff. It had a big old hood scoop on it, a nice spoiler on the rear, stripes that said RS, and louvers on the rear windows. Had wheel covers on it that looked like styled wheels. And I bought that car used at a Buick dealer. It had about 9,000 miles on it when I bought it. And I think I paid maybe $6,000 for the car. The original sticker on it was like $7,200. I think I paid around $6,000, maybe $5,900 for the car. It was, less than a year old. And it was a 4-cylinder and an automatic, 2.3 and automatic. But the 4-cylinder in this car, Fox platform, same as my Mercury Zephyr. But the 4-cylinder in this car was running properly and felt a lot stronger than my Zephyr had in the past. And so I was pretty happy with the car. It was a good commuter car back and forth to work, good gas mileage, and I enjoyed driving it. Now, After owning it about 6 months, and the mileage got up to around 13 or 14,000 miles, I got a job where I got a company car. Actually, I went back to my old job. I had changed jobs and didn't get a company car with the new one, but I went back to my old job, got a company car, and I didn't need the Capri anymore. So I decided I was going to buy a new car. So I took the Capri to a dealer. It was an Oldsmobile dealer, but he had a Buick Regal sitting on his lot. It was a 1980 Regal. It's about 1981. The Regal had about 9,000 miles on it. It was a Regal Limited. I think I described that car in an earlier video. And I traded my Capri in on that Regal. They gave me on trade $9,000 for the Capri. And the reason they gave me $9,000 was the used car, the guy who did the appraisal on the used cars, never drove the Capri, just went outside, walked around it, looked at it, and he assumed it was a V8, which would have made it much more popular and much higher priced. And they gave me a $9,000 trade-in on that Capri. So I actually made money on that car. One of the very few cars I ever made money on. Also bought a 1976 Pontiac Grand Prix. Told you about that car with the leaky T-roofs. My 1980 Buick Regal, just mentioned that one and have done a video on it. My 1980 Ford Thunderbird. A couple of funny stories about that car. The very first date I ever went out on with the woman that's now my wife. I was hoping for her to be my girlfriend back then. And that fortunately happened and she became my wife. But the very first date we ever went out on was after church on a Sunday night. Now, the Thunderbird had the Ford EEC, electronic engine control system. And the control module for the ignition was chronic for failure, chronic. They all failed. And mine was failing. The car would intermittently just die, just shut off. And so the very first date, we go out after church, we go to a restaurant, get something to eat. And on the way back to her apartment where I was going to drop her off, we're on a very dark road. It was nighttime. It was a very dark road. And sure enough, the Thunderbird quits. I tried to restart it while we were still rolling, put the car in neutral, tried to restart it, wouldn't restart. Coasted over to the side of the road, got it off the road as best I could, sat there a few minutes, tried to start it again. It wouldn't restart. And this poor lady looks over at me and goes, "You planned this, didn't you?" And I tried my best to convince her that I didn't plan it, that it was something that just randomly happens to the car. And we just happened to be unfortunate enough for it to happen right now. Now, the good thing was we weren't too far from her apartment. So I parked the car, we walked to her apartment. I think we might have played a game of cards or something like that when we went in an apartment or some game of some kind. And, waited a few minutes and then came back and I got in the car, got in it, and it started right up. And she was convinced that I planned that car dying. But I didn't. It was just the Ford thing. So eventually our relationship developed. We got engaged, got married, and she's been my wife for nearly 43 years now. But for the longest time, she was sure that I planned that failure. My 1983 Pontiac Grand Prix Brougham. I told you a lot about that car. I traded when I changed jobs, I didn't have a company car. So I traded the Grand Prix on two 1984 Mercury Topaz GS. I told you about those cars. They were not really great. Traded one of the Topaz in 1986 on a Chrysler LeBaron, which I told you about, and very, very, on a previous video, very good car. I actually liked that car. It was a good car. Bought a 1987 Plymouth Horizon America when the other Topaz, I decided I couldn't live with it anymore. And the Horizon America was probably one of the best cars that I've ever owned, reliability-wise. It really had no problems with it. Traded the LeBaron when the lease was up on the LeBaron, turned it in and bought a used 1988 Chrysler New Yorker Salon. My last video, I told you about that car, man. That thing was not a good car. Also bought a 1990 Plymouth Acclaim LX when I traded the I actually traded one of my company cars. It was given to me, my Ford Tempo GLS, in on this car. The Acclaim LX was the top of the line Acclaim. This car had everything you could get on Acclaim. It had a sunroof, pop-out sunroof. It wasn't power, it was a pop-out sunroof. Had the Infinity sound system. Really nice car. The interesting thing that happened with it was when it had about 22,000 miles on it, the vehicle speed sensor intermittently failed. Now, what I knew, what my symptom was I was driving the car one day on the highway, had the cruise control on, and all of a sudden the cruise control shut off. And it was like, what in the world just happened? The speedometer went down to 0. Now, the car was still running, everything was still normal. I could step on the gas and make the car go. Everything seemed to be normal, but I had no cruise control and no speedometer. And I was about probably 200 miles from home. I drove the car for a little while, and I noticed the odometer wasn't rolling either. And I thought, wow, there's something really has gone wrong. I thought maybe it was cable driven and the cable broke. So I got the car back home, took it into the dealer. They did some diagnostics, and they went, oh, your instrument cluster is bad. We're going to order you a new instrument cluster. Now, the car had like 26,500 miles on it or something. That's what was showing on the odometer. The new instrument cluster comes in, and it was showing 22,300 miles or something less than way less than what was actually showing on the car, actually on the actual odometer reading. And the dealer put it in, gives me the car back, and I'm, whoa, wait a minute, man, that number's not right. Look at the old instrument cluster. And they looked at it, and they said, oh man, yeah, they set it to the wrong setting. They said, but it's only a few thousand miles. It'll be okay. And I said, I'm not real comfortable. They said, it's fine. You've got a letter from Chrysler Corporation that says that they set it to the proper setting. So you're covered. You don't have to worry about anything. Just drive the car. So I drove the car, left the dealership, and I started on my next business trip. And I started driving the car, and after about 10 minutes, I was on the highway. Cruise control disconnects, speedometer goes to 0. And I pulled over when I could and called the dealer and said, hey, same thing happened again. And they said, well, can you bring the car back? And I said, if you can give me a loaner, yeah, I can bring the car back. I'm on a business trip. And they went, sorry, don't have a loaner to give you. We can't do that, but you got to drop the car off. And I said, I can't do it. They said, then just drive the car, and don't speed, run with traffic. So I put probably 1,000 miles on the car that week. They told me they would call me when they got a new instrument cluster and they ordered it. I went that full week, went halfway through the following week, and I was again on a business trip. I probably put another 1,000 miles on the car before the new instrument cluster came in. Once again, it came in with a mileage reading of 22,000 miles. Now, I've probably put another 2,500 miles on the car on top of the 26,000 and some that was showing on the original odometer. So the car's getting up close to 30,000 miles. They put the new instrument cluster in. I go on again on a business trip, and of course the same failure happened. So I put another 1,000 or so miles on the car without it registering on the odometer. Finally, took the car back in, and they contacted Chrysler Corporation. Chrysler told them to check the vehicle speed sensor, and that's what it was. So they fixed it, gave me the car back. But when I traded that car in, I would not sign an odometer statement that said that was the actual mileage, because I knew it wasn't. And the dealer was pushing me. He's like, that's a mistake. It's going to cost you $1,000 or more on a trade-in. And I said, I don't care. I'm not going to lie. And I did not sign an odometer statement that verified that was the correct mileage. So, funny story about that car. I traded that car in a 1992 Mercury Sable LS that was used, and I'm convinced was wrecked, because when I got the car, the steering wheel was off center. It was actually cocked to the left. And the car drove straight, but the steering wheel was crooked. So I took it back to the selling dealer, and I said, hey, can you make this steering wheel straight? And he went, oh, yeah, sure, we'll straighten it out. They gave me the car back with the steering wheel straight, but it pulled hard to the right. Again, I took it back and I said, hey, now it's pulling hard to the right. So they said, okay, we'll fix that. They fixed it, but when they gave it back to me, the steering wheel was again cocked to the left. So either somebody at that dealership didn't know what they were doing with an alignment, or there was something seriously wrong with the car, like it had been wrecked or something like that. And the whole life of that car, it chewed up front tires, or chewed up tires basically, because I would rotate them. It chewed up tires because of the fronts would wear quickly and unevenly. And I could not get any alignment shop anywhere to get that car aligned properly and have the steering wheel straight. So I eventually gave up on that car, got rid of it. We traded our New Yorker in while I had that car on my 93 Olds 88 Royale. Told you about that in a video. Wonderful car, one of the best cars we ever owned. Virtually no problems with it. I traded my Mercury in on a 95 Pontiac Grand Prix SE, good car, liked it a lot. We traded the Oldsmobile, or we didn't trade the Oldsmobile. I traded my Grand Prix in on a 98 Bonneville SE. Really nice car, liked that a lot. And I took the Olds because the mileage was low and drove that for business use for a while. I got a new job in 2001, actually 1999, the very end of 1999. That told me I was going to get a company car, and I got a company car in 2001. It took them that long to get me a company car. I drove rentals up until that point. My new company car was a Ford Explorer XLT, but I also leased a 2001 Toyota Avalon XLS. They had a lease program through the company that was all inclusive, and that Toyota was a really, really nice car. My brother called it the best Buick he'd ever been in. But it was very smooth and quiet and comfortable, and a very nice car. We had for business use, I got, when the company did away with company cars, I got a 2001 Mercury Sable LS. And I drove that car till it had about 90,000 miles on it. It was a good car. I had no problems with it. It was the LS Platinum Edition. So it had everything on it. Moonroof, leather interior, Mach audio system, great sound system. Traded that car on a 2005 Ford Explorer. Decided I wanted to get all-wheel drive, and I liked my 01 Explorer I had as a company car. I got that car, and it had the 4-liter V6, and just was the gas mileage was just, I couldn't afford that. I didn't want to spend that kind of money. So I traded that in on a 2007 Chevrolet Impala LTZ. While I owned the Avalon, when I traded the Explorer, I say when I traded the Explorer, I didn't trade it on the Impala. I traded it on a Toyota Avalon Limited, a 2006. Troublesome car, very un-Toyota-like. I also bought for a company car, I bought a 2007 Chevrolet Impala LTZ. It had the 3.9 engine in it. Nice car. Liked it a lot. But I kept it a very short time. We traded the Toyota in on a 2008 Cadillac CTS all-wheel drive. Really nice car. 304 horsepower, 3.6 direct injected, gray, black interior, nice car. It had a few problems. The 3.6 ate the timing chain very early in its life. It was covered under warranty. But the 2007 Impala, I traded on a 2009 Impala SS, the V8 engine. Oh, man, I love that car. What a great sound it had. Loved it to death. We traded the Cadillac, the 2008 Cadillac in on at least a 2011 Cadillac SRX Luxury. I got rid of the Impala in 2012, took the 11 SRX that my wife was driving and leased her a 2012 SRX with the luxury package. When the lease on the 11 was up, I bought a 2014 Chevy Impala LTZ. Bigger car, 3.6, 300 horsepower, just a beautiful car. Nice driving, good gas mileage, like that car a lot. And I leased for my wife a 2015 Equinox LTZ when the lease on the 12 Cadillac was up. Because of a health condition, I mentioned this before in a previous video, got rid of the 2014 Impala and bought a 2014 Cadillac ATS. Smaller car, it was going to be easier for me to drive and maneuver and park and get in and out of, but didn't work out too well. The ATS had some problems. I remember one in particular, it had dual zone climate control, and the driver's side would blow full hot and the passenger side would blow full cold, or vice versa, just randomly. So that, along with some other things, we decided to get rid of the ATS. And when the lease on the Equinox was up, we leased the 2017 Buick Encore Premium. And then I traded the Cadillac ATS in on a 2018 Buick Encore Premium. Drove those for a little while, but I missed my Cadillacs. I wanted another Cadillac. So I traded the 2017 Encore in on a 2016 used Cadillac XTS Luxury. Beautiful car. I loved that car. And was very, very nice. Kind of a deep burgundy red with a camel interior. Just a really nice car. I like that car a lot. Unfortunately, that was the car that gave me back trouble. For some reason, the seating position, I just couldn't get comfortable and it bothered my back. So in 2020, I traded that car. By the way, the Cadillac wasn't brand new. I bought it in 2019. In 2020, I traded it on a Cadillac XT4 Premium Luxury. That's the one that was the autumn color. I actually have a model of that one I should show you sometime. I will show it to you. And I really liked that car a lot. When the lease was over on that, we got a 2022 Buick Envision Avenir. I think I said in an earlier video that it was an Encore. It wasn't an Encore. It was an Envision Avenir that I still have. Really like it a lot. The 2018 Buick got, when the lease was up on that, we got a 2021 Buick Encore GX. Different vehicle than the Encore, a little bit bigger, a little bit more room inside. It was the Essence level, which is the highest level, and it had the Sport Touring ST trim on it. Just recently, right before last Thanksgiving, I bought a 2025 Cadillac Optique Sport 2. We traded the Buick Encore GX in on the Cadillac Optique. So that's where I'm at right now. Matter of fact, the Cadillac Optique is sitting in my garage right now as I speak, charging. That's the entire list of my cars. Some interesting things that happen with them. Thank you so much for watching. This video is really long, I know, but you know, I wanted to go through the whole list, make sure I'd covered everything and told you some fun things about the cars. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and be on the lookout next Friday for the next Talking Vehicles with Joe.